We are in the midst of an uncivil war. That's right. That's my new saying. An uncivil war. People acting uncivilly towards each other online. Just basically being assholes. Yesterday's episode, I did make a mistake. I referred to Tony King as John King, and I do apologize. There's a guy named Tony King. He was a former cocaine dealer. He used to hang out with John Lennon and Elton John. He's still alive. He's right here in Los Angeles. And hopefully I can look him up. There's a couple people I want to talk to. I talk about John Lennon being an opium smuggler, at least on one occasion. Because we know that these guys kind of threw it in people's faces. They put it in the song lyrics of their song, the lyrics of their song. And, you know, again, it's just kind of like Catch Me If You Can. We have Paul, openly the real Paul, the superior songwriter, Paul McCartney, saying that, yeah, when he brought cannabis into Japan, he just had it in his bag and he walked right through. And then you have the lyrics of John and Yoko talking about sewing bundles in a bag. Well, that's what they used to do. They would sew it in the lining of their bag. And the people working there wasn't the TSA, don't forget, but anyone who was working there or at the airport at the time were more interested in seeing John Lennon and Yoko Ono, mostly John Lennon, we know that, right? Yoko was being specifically utilizing the spectacle. And that lends another area of suspect to that. Because she would do stuff like appear on stage with John and she would be under a blanket and she would come popping out, you know, stuff like that. So again, we're just kind of piecing this together. It makes it a more interesting show to do. So yeah, the guy's name was Tony King. And where we're at in this world is we're in the middle of an uncivil war. It's not a civil war. And I talk about a lot of the same things over and over again because I'm waiting for someone to challenge me in the comment section, which you don't do. Yesterday's episode was pretty angry. Talk about uncivility. I've got guys in my life walking up to me like we're friends. And they're involved in this hazing behind my back. You know, the whole Zoolander thing, it's just really just low IQ. And, you know, these guys were in my milieu. I considered them to be friends. We're certainly not friends anymore. One of them was involved in Las Vegas, and the other one was involved in New York. And I know these guys, you know, and it's really pretty pathetic. I'm not telling you guys anything I wouldn't say to their face. That's the difference between me and garbage like them. They run these ops and they walk up to you, guffawing. And I told you, they all have this look on their face like, what? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. It's all plausible deniability. PD, police department. That's who they're working with. Okay? And it's not cool. Right? It's not cool. So, again, I'm continuing on with my creative life. That's what I'm deciding to do. I moved out to California to do that. You will see Linoleum Blown Apart get made. It is an ode to the midnight movies. And it's a fun title. Now, yesterday I was kind of ripping on Reservation Dogs. It's a terrible title. I'm sorry, it just is. You can't wrap your tongue around it. It should have been called Res Dogs. And then you have to watch the show to see what they're talking about. Oh, reservation. Oh, the American Indians on the reservation. You see what I'm saying? It's not fun. It's not a fun title, but it's a great show. And again, the reason I'm bringing it up is because they were talking about shows like this in the 1990s. What is it now, guys? That's 40 years ago. What do you think I'm doing here? Right? You know, I didn't come here, like I said yesterday, to be indigent. You know, nobody sets out to do that. And I'm not mentally deficient either. There was another... Sorry, I'm giving myself away from listening to way too much NPR. Because I really don't. I just happen to catch it at, you know, certain times. And they said a lot of people who are homeless are above just above mental capacity. No, they're high IQ people, and you just kind of fall through the cracks. And again, I'm not saying I'm like super high IQ, but you're above average is what I'm trying to say, right? We're above average in our thinking. We've had above average jobs. We're above being a laborer. Like I said, I was making $175 per day in New York. I was perfectly fine, but I was an alcoholic and a cigarette smoker. Okay? And now people think there's nothing wrong with it, but I wanted to change my life. And I wanted to really kind of start a family around that time. And I couldn't find, any female prospects, at all. And so when I moved out west, I was making $5 an hour, guys. And I was doing construction. And you guess what? I was really happy. I was really happy. I was still obviously in my addiction, but I had a new outlook on life. And I knew it wasn't about the money. And I knew I had conquered, okay, I want to try acting. I actually went out there and did it. I succeeded at what I did. But I don't have a bunch of sycophants back in Michigan blowing smoke up my ass, nor do I want it. It's too little and it's too late. And it's too little and it's too late to be friends again. And it's too little or too late to reconnect. Because some of you are involved in some nasty business. And I don't appreciate it. You don't have any talent, I'm here to tell you. Okay? And that's how I feel about these people. They're talentless. They're like NPCs now. Okay? A lot of people in the punk rock scene are slaves to the medical mafia. They believe they're Philistines now. I can't believe it. They believe anything. Okay? Take a look at Thermus Aquaticus, guys. Take a look at ivermectin. Why were they talking about ivermectin? What is it? Look into it for yourself. It's an anti-parasite drug. What did RFK Jr. have in his brain? He had a worm. Okay? This is what this bacteria is. It looks like a worm. You can say it's a nanoparasite. You can say it's nanobacteria. You can name it anything you want. It's just like an electron and a photon. They're the same thing. But when you're talking about, different aspects of electricity, you're referring to it in a different manner. Okay? So it's the same thing with Thermus Aquaticus. You have to look into this stuff yourself. It's amazing. I really like Jamie Deluxe's channel, DLUX. He's an old punk rocker. He plays in a reggae band. And don't forget my song, The Drinker, Jimmy's song. It's supposed to be like almost like a reggae song, but I couldn't get my band to really play it. I couldn't play it anyway. It's supposed to be like a reggae ska song. Anyway. His channel, he's taken down these guys, the medical mafia guys. He's really challenging him, and he's getting thousands of hits, because he has a pretty decent following. He makes great videos. I'm not putting him down. Not everybody wants to do this talking head video that I do. That's why I always suggest you put it on 1.5 while you drive, and you could just listen to what I'm talking about and do a little theater of the mind. But he's talking about this stuff, and I'm talking about it too. Okay? And so I do these long videos, and I try to do little short edits of them, and I try to break it up by letting you guys know I'm not into this alt-white. It's like you're either woke to go broke, or you're alt-white, right? The Hodge twins, they're not white, but they're on the right. Okay? So it takes all kinds of people to make up this world. And it seems to me there's no alt media because we're all talking about the same things. People getting triggered by the Olympics, why do you think they do it? Why do you think they do it? Because they know that it's going to trigger you if you're a Christian. Okay? And there they go, making videos about it. Oh my God, did you see? Ugh. It's really gross. And what they're doing, like I said before, is they're usurping your mind. They're giving you the things that that to think about, right? When you're playing video games for hours and hours on end, they're robbing you of your creativity. Okay? When you're involved in brain rot, like I do, by the time I'm at the end of my day, I'm at about 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and I got to get on the bus and I got to go home. I sit there and look at brain rot. I scroll brain rot on the way home. Because the book, oh my God, the book I'm reading, it's like a phone book. Like, I hate lugging that thing around. You know, I have my devices. I have to, whatever, slave to the device. But, okay. So, anger is an energy. And I displayed it yesterday, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I think the people involved in my life walking around, coming up to me, acting like they know me, but they're really involved in these ops, you're trash. You're garbage. You're a garbage human being. I never crossed you. That's why I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I never crossed any of these people, you know? And, you know, so it's over. You know, I'll reiterate that on every single show. It is over. There is no more friendship, right? I can actually write songs with a melody, and that's the difference. The guys in Son of Sam and the Almighty Lady Boys of Death, or whatever the fuck you are, fuck you. You're garbage, and your fucking music is garbage. And I never cared not one day, until 2022. And I found out everything. That's a big F you. Yeah, I got ties to the police department too. My mom worked for the Detroit Police Department for 50 years. That's 50 years. That's 5 decades. Okay? I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with somebody going around with a rolling cash for smells in New York. And I know who it is. Okay? Yeah, we'll see about you. Oh, we'll see about you. So, you know, and again, if you're not somebody's friend, don't be their friend. It's as simple as that. But what these guys do is they pretend to be your friend. I mean, this is just sickening. We are not friends. So, anyways, do you guys notice this new home screen? And again, I just want to say, sorry, I jump around. I love jumping around. I hope you do too. I'm working on a creative endeavor, and that writing is going on Kindle. And what we're manifesting here into existence is an on-demand series. This on-demand series is for people who used to go see Merchant of Ivory films. Merchant of Ivory or Merchant and Ivory? Merchant and Ivory films. And it was considered like going to an opera, or like it was considered highbrow, I meant to say. It was considered highbrow to do that. And I like that. Because you would be walking amongst the normies, the NPCs, and you'd see a friend of yours or somebody, and you would hear that they saw the same film, and you'd be like, oh, did you see that film that I saw? Oh, yeah, I saw it as well. I'm getting ready to watch Topsy Turvy. That looks great. It's about Gilbert and Sullivan. Mike Lee or Michael A. I need to get lead. So, anyway. So we talk about a lot of things. I'm talking about the fact that it's an uncivil war. I'm talking about the fact that John Lennon smuggled opium. This is groundbreaking. And Tony King is still alive right here in Los Angeles. And I could probably maybe do an interview with him. See if we can get confirmation of that. That would be kick-ass. This is an interactive show. I don't appreciate people who know me, quote unquote, running game like some weak ass bitch. And I never will. Try not to get angry. It's supposed to be the fun show. This is the more funner show. Right? But, so anyways, yesterday I was talking about dancing. And I was watching the Kate Bush Wuthering Heights video. And when I was researching this banishing ritual, And what you have to do when you take a look, I think Aleister Crowley goes into it, you have movement that goes with it. Like these Gurdjieff, take a look at Gurdjieff as well. Gary Lockman just wrote another book on Gurdjieff. Gary Lockman used to be Gary Valentine. He gets a pretty nice check from Blondie, the people in Blondie, Debbie Harry and those guys. What's the guy's name? Chris something or other? But it's been a long time. Oh, and again, what I'm writing, it's for, excuse me, boomers, Gen Xers, and rock and roll people. Okay? We want something to watch. We want something to binge. And I already told you that they're going to do an 8-mile series. Okay? Well, what do you think the series is going to be about? It's going to be about, gee, I wonder, rap and guns? Ugh. Right? I already explained to you that Hunter Biden is about smoking crack and banging broads. You can't get any more gangster than that. That's actually gangster, right? I don't know who all these prudes are going on. Oh my God, did you see the Hunter Biden laptop? You're the son of a senator. They're recording in your laptop 24/7. Every time you flip that thing open, even when it's closed, they're recording the sound. This came to light during the Johnny Depp trial. And what was everybody talking about? Somebody dropping a turd in the bed. This is how dumb things are. This is how uncivil this war of the mind is. And I'm here to help people, through this. We can talk about other things, right? What was that thing people used to do with planking or something, right? We can talk about other things. I'm going full tilt boogie in my creative endeavors, and I'm looking to workshop this treatment somewhere that has a coffee maker and a bathroom that's not the library, because there's no coffee maker here, right? That's really all I need. I eat salads every day. I eat healthy. Coffee maker, bathroom, and a place to maybe go work out, stretch your legs. I don't even work out really, just to be honest with you. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking to do. I've already signed up for a couple of places to get extra work, getting back into extra work, getting back into production, back into casting. Okay, I've got my CDL, so I've got a couple of trolley companies that I could go drive for a couple days a week as well, right? For a couple extra bucks. Right? So it's really on. And I was talking about Kate Bush's dance in Wuthering Heights. I urge you to look at this. I'll probably pin it maybe in the comments. Yesterday's episode, I have an article about Tony King pinned in the comments. I want to talk about the same things over and over again. I want to drill this stuff home. I really, really do. I think it's important. And I think a lot of times people do these shows and they'll do a one-off about something, say like the WEF, let them eat bugs. Don't you understand that they're doing this through accelerationism and they're getting you to react to eating bugs? Headlines we call media deep blue here. And media deep blue is in an abyss. It's not only an abyss, but it's abysmal. Those headlines are memes, right? And I already said before, they got rid of Roe versus Wade. Well, what did it cause? It caused an uptick in the abortion pill. Start putting this stuff together, okay? Face ridicule in the uncivil war. You have to face this ridicule. We all have to. Because we might make a mistake. Oh my God, did I make a mistake? Oops. So, you move on. You learn from your mistakes. So there's these guys, they're getting ready to go down to Antarctica to do sun declinations down there. And I think it's going to end up like the Titan. You guys remember the Titan? The Titan went down with the Titanic. The Titan was the submarine that went down to investigate the Titanic. And I think that the final experiment The gentlemen who are going to Antarctica to do sun declinations, well, I think it's going to end up like that. I think it's going to be the final experiment. I think the guy is MK Ultra, and what people don't understand is this. The gentleman in the Titan, the submarine that went down, investigating the Titanic, and everybody lied about it. One of them was a billionaire. Where's his money? Where's his money? Do you think his kids got his money? Do you think his kids got his investment portfolio? Doesn't work that way. Vulture capitalists know to come in and take this stuff. The guy who's taken the gentleman to Antarctica, he has a huge investment portfolio. And when he passes away, which is going to happen, they're not going down there and coming back. It's called the final experiment. You could look into this stuff yourself. Someone's going to snatch up his investment portfolio. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think happened to the investment portfolio of the guys in the Titan? Are you waiting for Zero Hedge? I read Zero Hedge. Are you waiting for Zero Hedge to tell you? Maybe they'll do an article about it. I don't know. But I guarantee it's not going to their next of kin. I guarantee it's going to be pilfered. And it's a large investment portfolio. Rather large, right? Once it gets into the billions, you know. There was a show called The Billions. I really love that show. I don't think I ever got a chance to watch the end of it. Hopefully I will in my lifetime at some point. It was great. So he gave Axe Capital, the guy playing the role, he gave the psychologist, their local psychologist, their corporate psychologist, he gave her a $2 million bonus. And there was a great scene. He comes busting into her office and he goes, "You withdrew $200,000 out of your account. Why?" I love how they talk, right? I do that. Check out my series. It's called Marooned. It's in my playlist. Check it out. It's on my channel. I kind of talk like that too. "Hey, how you doing?" Like, whatever. Right? So Axe Capital, Axe, the guy, he comes walking in and he says, "You withdrew $200,000 out of your $2 million bonus." How or why the fuck would he know that? How or why would he know that? He gave her $2 million. That's her money. Do you understand how this works now? Do you understand how this works? These sports stars and these Hollywood stars, they're told that they're given this amount of money. They have access to a certain amount of money. That doesn't mean they can go withdraw $20 million. Do you ever hear the story? I think Shaquille O'Neal, who's a great commercial actor, by the way. I just want to hand it to Shaquille O'Neal. He's a great commercial actor. Terrific. He's really good. I told you I did commercial acting too. I was like, but he's great at it. And he tells the story when he moved somewhere. He went and he had to buy like house stuff. He's buying pillows and blankets and stuff, you know, because he just moved into this new apartment or something like that. Condo. He goes in there and they shut his credit card off. They're like, "Oh, you have suspicious activity." He can't buy what he wants to buy, and he's Shaquille O'Neal making allegedly all this money, right? So there's whispers about Kobe Bryant having it being espionage. What happened with him? Because there was some issue with him putting his name on a product. Okay, could be corporate espionage. Okay, we are in, excuse me, an uncivil war. And the alt-white are being fed their narrative. It's kind of easy. You have, on the left, you have people saying woke. On the right, you had what? The Great Awakening. Through QAnon. I call it Q Roseannon. Why? Because it was designed to get people like Roseanne Barr I'm talking about. She's a Q Roseannon. She's part of, she's interested in this QAnon. I mean, I was interested in when I first discovered what it was in 2017, guys. Okay? It was like 7 years ago. I could see what it is. It's a total operation. And it was to get women who are internet sleuthing emotionally invested. That's what QAnon is. And that was part of what? The Great Awakening. Okay, so if we weren't living in a technocratic age, but theosophists in the 19th century, really the 20th century, in the early 20th century, knew that a great awakening was coming. Well, how did they know that? Right? We equate it with the technocratic age. Right? Why did the usurper of the swastika call it the Third Reich? Do you know what Reich means? It means realm. It means realm. It means aeon. That is a cycle of time, guys. What do we talk about here? The Metonic cycle. Why? Because Thomas Jefferson, not Thomas Edison. I said Thomas Edison yesterday. Shut up. You try doing this with these scribbly notes. Right? These are cycles of time. Oops. Oh, sorry, I'm in the library. These are cycles of time. That's why he was in the Third Reich. What are we going into? The fourth Kali, the Kali Yuga, which would be the Fourth Reich. Okay. We're going into, I got to go back further. You guys know when I edit these videos down that it goes from a medium shot into a close-up, and I put up like a lot of videos that are in close-up. I'm not intending to do that. My editing software that I used actually does that. And I don't, even when you're creating a short, it takes a medium shot and puts it into a close-up. I don't really like that. I'm sure you don't either when you see my ugly mug, oh boy. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about. I was a little angry yesterday because I'm piecing all this stuff together in real time. And I'm realizing it's guys that I know. And it's not cool. Like, I want to make sure that you understand something. I came up in Detroit and everyone talks about Eminem and Jack White. I was doing what those guys were doing before they were doing it. Okay? And we were punk rock kids. I really like Killing Zoe, right? Because he had Eric Stoltz put on the Black Flag bars on his arm. It was something as subtle as that, right? And I'm talking about Roger Avery, whose films I really like. I really like Roger Avery's films. His last film he did with Crispin Glover was very campy. I thought it was a little bit too campy and over the top, but people like that. It's like I said, with Quentin Tarantino, he takes a B movie and puts A-listers in a B movie that has a multi-million-dollar budget. But he writes these kind of cool B movie scripts, right? And he does these kind of like B movie scenes and scenarios, right? So it's fascinating. I like that aspect of it. It's kind of kitschy. I'm not sitting here saying that I love every single one of his films, but I do like the Roger Avery approach. These guys are punk rock guys. They used to listen to a guy named John Wayne, Jon Wayne. he does these little trashy cowpunk records, right? Cowpunk was pretty huge. Like cowpunk kind of helped to usher in that new rockabilly sound that kind of came in around the early double aughts. Okay, and that's when I moved back to Detroit and I started writing songs for Linoleum Blown Apart. All right, so the album that I wrote in Detroit in the double aughts is called Horse Feathers. That's what it was supposed to be called, and that's what whiteboard. I love that whiteboard episode. It was great. I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? I'll be doing more of those, and one of my next episodes is going to be on golden years. Okay, so golden years is another treatment I'm going to be putting up. Oh man, I can't remember this guy's name. Nick. Oh man, I should have my computer out. Sorry guys, but man, I can't think of his name. The guy who did True Detective. Okay, they told that guy, you know, he wrote his novel, which was made into a film. And Galveston. And so they told him he had to write an existing script. Nick Casaletto, damn it. He had to write an existing script to a show and then write a new script, a pilot. Okay, I write treatments. Okay, excuse me, I don't write shooting scripts. I'm inspired by Elmore Leonard. You know, I'm inspired by novelists. I already talked about Hubert Selby Jr., Iceberg Slim, what's his name? Donald Goines. You know, these kind of guys. That's kind of the gritty stuff that I like. I write my treatments in about 20 pages. That's all anybody wants. I use Baskerville Old Face type. And there's Bookman Old School too. It's a little thinner. Baskerville Old Face is thicker type. Size 14 font. 1.5 space. Okay, I'm not going to be submitting something in Helvetical Bold 12. Single space or double space. It's not going to happen. If you can't read my writing, take a hike. Get lost. I don't want you reading it anyways. Oh, sorry, it's not Helvetical Bold 12. Unless you can bring me a doctor's note as to why I got to print it up. Again, I'm not gonna write a shooting script until it comes time to shoot a scene. Until somebody says, hey, you know what? I really like what you're doing, Gordon. Do you think you can get me a shooting script? Sure, man. No problem. Then I'll be able to work on it. Until then, I have other treatments to write. I have the 7 treatments. I got notes. I'm a note-taking son of a so-and-so. I got notes for I got to do the 7 treatments for Walter's 7 films. A lot of them, some of them are mostly written already. And then I'm going to do Golden Years. In Golden Years, you need the song. You need the song by Bowie. It's simple. This is a great show idea. And I'm here to work. I'm here to earn a living. I don't want to break anybody's bank. I don't want some big payout. I want to work. I'm at the last third of my life and blah, blah, blah. I talked about that yesterday. I was really angry yesterday. But you need David Bowie's song, and it's called Golden Years. And here's where I got the idea. When I was living in Queens, New York, there was a 90-year-old woman there. She loved me. She's like, hey, how you doing? She just glommed onto me. She loved everybody, but she was really nice. Little Greek lady, Kathy. And I sat down with her one day. She told me the story about how she jumped a woman and beat her up. She was like in her 20s, and she still remembered the story. Yeah, of course. She was great. She remembered a lot of things. And I was like, wow. I was like, if we could go around to these old age homes, convalescent homes, and get these people's stories and animate them. Now, don't forget that Bill Burr and Vince Vaughn worked together on an animated series, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home, or whatever it was. Okay, I say the same thing about Family Guy, but Family Guy, really, they had new people come in and they made it really, really fresh. They did an excellent job. I still watch it to this day. Okay, but it's like that. Okay, but it's part of an actual comedy series. I'm talking about what? Golden Years. And it's the golden years. I saw Michael DeBar, he's releasing something new. I don't know if you guys know Michael DeBar, his wife, Pamela DeBar. She was one of the very first groupies. Okay, this rock and roll lifestyle, like I'm talking about John Lennon, and I'm giving you a fresh take. This rock and roll lifestyle is out. It's on its way out. Look at Aerosmith. They had to cancel. Okay? They had to cancel, guys. I'm just saying it. It could be any reason. It could be the reason that they're telling us. But it also could be these guys, they can't sing anymore. And so they all use computers. So he can't even get up there and fake it anymore. Like that's how, right? Because that's kind of what Alice Cooper is still going. He still uses his own real voice, but he doesn't really sing. He never really sang. He kind of spoke his lyrics. And so that helped him out a little bit. The guitars like I said, the band who could come in and really work this would be Johnny Depp and the Hollywood Vampires. This series that I'm talking about, Golden Years, would be perfect for Johnny Depp to get back into on-demand television. Okay? The story is about, I'm going to write up the treatment, put it on Kindle. The story is a aged rock star, like say somebody like Slash. He was in the biggest band in the world. He was a guitar player. And he no longer lives in the big house like Gene Simmons. Okay? He no longer lives in a big house like Gene Simmons. He's regaled to the pool house. Him and his old lady are in a pool house. The people who took over, excuse me, sorry. The people who took over, I gotta be quiet, I keep forgetting. And I burped too, right when they told me to keep it down. Sorry. The people who took over the main property are these tech millionaires or billionaires, right? So these tech millionaire billionaires are, I guess they're like helicopter parents, but they're like MIA. They're both professionals. Okay? So once again, you have the rock and roll couple in the back. It's a guy like Slash, old guitar player, who'd be played by Johnny Depp, with his girlfriend. Okay? But it's his wife. Now, she's a former stripper. And that was the whole thing about rock and roll on the Sunset Strip, was that they're, a lot of times you get a stripper girlfriend and she could pay all the rent, and you'd be like, like, my band's gonna make it, I just need a couple more months, babe. Like that kind of thing. So this is the nature of their relationship. Okay, these are now archetypes. Just like with Linoleum Blown Apart, it's the punk rock archetype. Okay, so so you have that couple, they're regaled to the pool house. Okay, and they had to sell the main property, obviously. They sell it to a couple techie, I can't say billionaires, or however they want to phrase it, tech millionaires, take over the house, and then they have 2 kids. Now, again, they're urban professionals, so they're gone a lot of the time. So you're mostly going to have the 2 kids, some kind of housekeeper or maid. You have the groundskeeper guy, right? who's been there the whole time. And then you have, it's going to be like that 70s show. It's going to be a multi-camera setup. That's how I envision it. You have the two characters, Johnny Depp, rock and roll guy, and his old lady in the back pool house. Those are the main characters, and they're going to be involved in all the shenanigans. But during the show, just like on Dave Chappelle's show, where they wouldn't animate it, they would come out and act out the stories of Charlie Murphy. We're going to animate the rock and roll stories of, and they did this before on, I can't remember the name of the show, but they did something similar on Comedy Central. Okay? So they're going to come out and the rock and roll guys, you could take stories right from their book and you could actually AI their voice. That's what you could do now. So all these guys, Duff McKagan, I always bring him up, you know, all these guys, they all wrote autobiographies, all of them. And you could AI their voice and they do the voiceover, just like this woman was telling me, this 90-year-old woman was telling me about, right? So they all have these rock and roll stories. And what you would do is you would animate their rock and roll story. That way, it gives you a break from watching like that 70s show or whatever it is, right? It's in the vein of that 70s show. It's called Golden Years. It's about two aged rock and rollers who live in the back pool house and the new family that took over their multi-million-dollar mansion, right? He's always trying to get the band back together to go back out on tour. And then we have actual rock stars stopping by for each episode, right? You know, you can have Axl stopping by. I mean, any of these guys from Poison. I mean, just name them, from Sabbath. Ozzy can come stumbling on the set one day, right? And you've got this canned laughter. I kind of see it as that. Now, whether or not, you know, the new people want to do something like that, it's up to them. But you have to have these cutaways to these rock and roll stories that are animated. Why? Because the zeitgeist changed. And some of the stories might be ultra violent. And in order to kind of smooth it out with people, now you're not going to be, I don't want any drugs in this. We all know these rock stars did drugs. And if you're going to talk about drugs or you're going to say drugs, you know, you could sit there and say, well, I was maybe under the influence of a little something or something. You know, you would say it like that and do a sound effect like, you know, whatever, right? Or mushrooms or, you know, however you want to show it, or, you know, alcohol. But you can do this in a cartoonish manner. And I think that's the key. And so you have this main story going on in the house. And when people kind of are getting a little bored of that, every 10 minutes, you're going to tell a rock and roll story. Why? Because there's almost an infinite number of them. There's almost an infinite number of these rock and roll stories. And you don't have to just get the stories from the rock and roll guys. Those are the good ones, right? You can get the stories from the peripheral people. Easy for me to say. You get those stories too. Get the stories from their girlfriends, from their wives, from the strippers. You have to get their stories too. Oh my God, I remember this guy used to come in and, you know, it reminds me of Diablo Cody's Candy Girl, where she was working as a stripper and a guy would come in and lick the screen. I'm sorry, man, but it's just like, you know, again, we're talking about outlandish stories, but in a PG-ish manner. Okay? So, again, I'm not going to hide who I am, knowing that, you know, I study all this kind of crazy stuff online, like Thermus Aquaticus, Metonic cycles, why they were inverting the swastika, right? Taking the original meaning and twisting it, putting it on its head, you know, talking about things again like the Metonic cycle, talking about Reich, meaning realm, meaning we're entering into the new realm, the Kali Yuga, the realm of the Kali Yuga. That has to do with the Rolling Stones' tongue sticking out. I got Rolling Stones stories for you as well. Some of those might have to wait until the band breaks up for real. Rock and roll is a nasty business. It's a dirty business. And I know when I was a kid, if there was anything that I was stressed out about in my family, I could always just turn on the radio and that rock and roll would soothe my soul, as they say. There's a lot of people still into rock and roll. I do not listen to rap. I am classic rock. I really don't even listen to much metal at all. Into punk rock, oi, D-beat, ska, real true alternative music. I saw a guy with a English beat shirt on yesterday. Okay, we have the audiences for these shows. Okay, I'm really galvanizing it down to just a few ideas until I can get, another one. By the way, I was on LinkedIn and they were talking about oat milk. I talk about these surveys that I take. I take surveys for slave wages. And they talk about oat milk on there, and I was on LinkedIn, and they brought up oat milk because everybody's talking about it now. And I brought up the fact that they should get John Oates to do an oat milk commercial. It's literally in his name. I thought of this idea back when I was talking about oatmeal companies, and there's like 13 brands of oatmeal. Did you guys know that? Most of us only know a couple. You get it either at Starbucks or you get it at Quaker Oats. There's 13 steel-cut oatmeal companies, like brand new companies, pushing their product. You've got oat milk. And again, I used to work for propaganda and satellite films, and they were working with advertisers all the time. And it's just like, if you can't get John Oates to come in and do an oat commercial nowadays with all the oat products out there, then you owe somebody an apology. So this is the kind of stuff that I want to talk about with you guys, my audience. I am tired of these truther assholes. I'm tired of these people who are alleged Christians who don't know the first thing about the Bible, who can just sit there and get triggered off of anything that Media Deep Blue delivers to them. It's why they deliver it to you, right? I was talking to a guy recently at the place because he looked like an old rock and roll guy. I'm the one putting together John Lennon hanging out with the guys from the MC5. That's where he's getting the notion of legalizing drugs and stuff like that. Don't forget, John Lennon just wanted to hang out and play rock and roll. He didn't want to. He was mad. He's like, fucking Paul McCartney comes in with 10 new songs, and so all of a sudden we're in Paul McCartney's band. He's like, man, I just want to play those old rock and roll songs like we did, right? So it lends itself to that kind of lazy afternoon smoking a joint. We talk about, I was the one who brought up the Bardo, where if there is a genocide and you kill people, you have about a month to tap into the Bardo. And this was part of why the Third Reich was studying, right? The Kali Yuga, the cycles. They were going down to Tibet. They inverted the sign of the Folfat, the 4 feet. The swastika is peace and prosperity. So when you're inverting it, what are you doing, right? You're creating the opposite of that, right? So just like the pentagram, right? When they invert the pentagram, it's supposed to mean the exact opposite of what they're doing. So when the pentagram is pointed to the top is your spirit. It's your higher minded self. It's a greater idea, something that's out there, something that's hopeful. So when you're putting it down on the earth, what are you doing? You're pointing to the earth. You're pointing to the materialist realm. You're pointing to materialistic things. I have to explore these themes for what? For my novelization. Linoleum blown apart in a clear dust jacket. I have to make it very, very clear where this printing press comes from and how these people moved from being Christians, a Christian sect when the printing press got made in the 16th century, 17th century. We might as well just say 17th century. Again, I'm creating this right now. We're doing it together. Thank you. I'll give you something on the back end. I have to make sense of all this. It has to make sense to people why they began venerating one of the writers of the Bible instead of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And they shifted that. Even the Catholics venerate, Mother Mary, okay? And so we have to justify all this stuff. This is what I do in my off time. I write Linoleum Blown Apart. I write treatments up and I put them on Kindle, right? I'm looking for a place to live where I can work. Right now, like I said, I stay in a tiny home and I get up and I come to the library and I run my errands. I got tons of errands to run. I send out job resumes, all that kind of garbage and stuff like that. It's always something. There's always something to do. Whenever I have a doctor's appointment, it's a month later. It takes a month to make a doctor's appointment for them to get you in. So again, we all live in this world together and we can choose to act civilly or we could choose to be uncivil to each other. This is an uncivil war. It's not a civil war, but there will be casualties. There is no doubt. I want to thank you very much for watching my show, and I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.